Good morning students. So today we are going to discuss chemical properties of glycerol. Glycerol is a trihydric alcohol and the most of the reactions shown by glycerol are the expected reactions. I mean as we can expect from the monohydric alcohol. I mean reactions shown by monohydric alcohol are shown by trihydric alcohols as well, that is glycerol. So most of the properties resemble with one another. So let's see some of the chemical properties of it. So very first chemical property is the reaction with sodium metal. Remember, sodium is a reactive metal. So when we treat any alcohol with sodium, then sodium has ability to displace hydroxyl hydrogen. So when we treat glycerol, which happens to be trihydric alcohol, it can be given as with sodium metal, then thereby evolution of hydrogen takes place. So that lead to the formation of an ingredient which can be shown as, remember, this is monosodium glycerolate. This is called as monosodium glycerolate. Now this monosodium glycerolate further react with sodium again, thereby release of hydrogen takes place, and I mean sodium displaces this hydroxyl hydrogen now, and that lead to the formation of a species that can be given as, this is disodium glycerolate. In this way, sodium when treated with glycerol, with the evolution of hydrogen gas, we may receive the mixture of two, or most predominantly disodium glycerolate will be the product of the reaction. Now next very important property is reaction with PCl5, PBr3 and PI3. Now remember, PCl5 is better chlorinating agent. So when we treat glycerol with PCl5, then ultimately OH groups of glycerol will get replaced by chlorine, and that lead to the formation of this product along with POCl3 and HCl as a byproduct. So this is called as glyceryl trichloride. Now as far as PBr3 is concerned, remember PBr3 is to be prepared indirectly. So what we need to do, take glycerol, which is a trihydric alcohol, and it is to be heated with red phosphorus and bromine. Now red phosphorus bromine react with each other producing PBr3, and PBr3 responds what? Glycerol, and thereby replacement of OH group takes place by bromine, and that lead to the formation of a product along with H3PO3. So this is called glyceryl tribromide. This is glyceryl tribromide. But when we try to react glycerol with PI3, remember PI3 is to be prepared indirectly. So when glycerol, that is trihydric alcohol, which can be shown as, this is glycerol, when it is heated with red phosphorus and iodine, these two react with each other producing PI3. PI3 would react with this, leading to the formation of glyceryl triiodide. But this glyceryl triiodide is unstable, as size of iodine is too higher, I mean atomic size is bigger. That's why thereby liberation of iodine takes place from this site, and that lead to the formation of a product what we called allyl iodide. So allyl iodide is a product when we treat glycerol with PI3. So in this manner we may get glyceryl trichloride with PCl5, glyceryl tribromide with PBr3, but glyceryl triiodide is not stable due to the bigger atomic size of iodine, and hence allyl iodide is obtained. Now next very important property, that is reaction with HCl. So glycerol react with HCl and temperature affect the most. So let's see what happens when we treat glycerol with HCl. Remember, at 110 degrees Celsius, HCl and glycerol react in different manner. Let's see how. So this is the glycerol. When glycerol is treated with HCl at about 110 degrees Celsius, then we get the mixture of two different products. So very first thing to be obtained is this, what we called alpha glycerol monochlorohydrine. Remember, this is alpha glycerol monochlorohydrine. And remember, alpha glycerol monochlorohydrine has 66% yield approximately, and along with this, hereby I mean another derivative or product whatever obtained is like this, and this is the beta glycerol monochlorohydrine. So this is nothing but beta glycerol monochlorohydrine, and it has just 34% of yield. But when we treat glycerol with excess of HCl, remember, with excess HCl the reaction takes place in different manner. So let's see what happens exactly when glycerol is treated with excess HCl. When it is treated with excess HCl, then also the mixture of two different products can be seen. One of the products will be like this. This is one of the products, and another important product along with this product obtained is like this. Now this is alpha beta glycerol dichlorohydrine, which has 56% of yield, and this is alpha dash glycerol dichlorohydrine, and it has just 44% of yield. In this way, glycerol react differently under different conditions with HCl that is to be noted. And remember, HCl also replaces hydroxyl groups of glycerol, and instead of which chlorine may get entered, and the reactions suggest the same thing. Now let's see the reaction with HI. Reaction with HI. Now glycerol, that is the trihydric alcohol, when treated with HI, remember HI is the strong halo acid, so all the OH groups ultimately will get replaced right here by iodine, and that lead to the formation of a glyceryl triiodide. Now this glyceryl triiodide is unstable as atomic size of iodine is quite larger, so thereby the release of iodine takes place, which lead to the formation of allyl iodide. Now this allyl iodide further react with HI, and thereby addition takes place according to the Markovnik's rule, which lead to the formation of a product that can be given as. So this is diiodopropane, and this diiodopropane is unstable as well due to repulsion between these two iodine. Hereby departure of I2 takes place, which due to which we may get propylene, and this propylene further react with HI by following Markovnik's rule, and we get the product what we called isopropyl iodide. In this way HI react with glycerol producing isopropyl iodide. Now very important thing, reaction with oxalic acid. So let's see what happens when glycerol is treated with what? Oxalic acid. So oxalic acid is a dicarboxylic acid, that is to be noted, and remember temperature has greater influence on this reaction, that is for sure. So when we treat glycerol, that is trihydric alcohol, which can be given as with oxalic acid can be written in this manner at about 110 degrees Celsius. Then thereby esterification takes place, and which lead to the formation of a product that can be given as, remember this is the glycerol monooxalate. Now glycerol monooxalate upon heating loses CO2. So due to loss of CO2 we may get this. This is nothing but the glycerol monoformate. Remember this is known as glycerol monooxalate, and upon losing CO2 we get glycerol monoformate. Now this glycerol monoformate is to be hydrolyzed. So upon hydrolysis we get formic acid along with the glycerol back. Thus it is to be remembered that oxalic acid react with what? Glycerol at 110 degrees Celsius, and that lead to the formation of what? Formic acid. So it is one of the important methods to prepare formic acid. But at 260 degrees Celsius, reaction takes place in a different manner. So let's see what happens when we heat glycerol with oxalic acid at comparatively higher temperature. So hereby esterification takes place in between two OH groups, and that lead to the formation of ester that can be given as, so this is the ester so obtained, this is called as glycerol dioxalate. So glycerol dioxalate is obtained, which happens to be the ester of what? The glycerol and oxalic acid at higher temperature. So remember we are heating at 260. Now on further heating, thereby evolution of CO2 takes place, and that lead to the formation of a product what we called allyl alcohol. So bottom line is the allyl alcohol is obtained when we heat glycerol with oxalic acid at 260 degrees Celsius. Now this is a crucial and very important thing to be noted. Temperature has vital effect on the reaction. So with hike in temperature, product may get changed, product may be different. So formic acid and allyl alcohol, these are the two different products obtained on different occasion. Now let's see next very important thing, dehydration reaction. Dehydration reaction of glycerol. So for dehydration we need to use dehydrating agents. This is the glycerol trihydric alcohol. When this glycerol is heated in presence of concentrated H2SO4, remember H2SO4 is good dehydrating agent, or P2O5, or one can use KHSO4, that is potassium hydrogen sulfate. So in presence of any one of these dehydrating agents, when we heat glycerol, then thereby departure of water takes place, I mean loss of water takes place, and that lead to the formation of acrolein. So remember, acrolein is obtained, and this reaction is used as a test to detect glycerol also under the name acrolein test, remember. Now this is very important test, analytical test for glycerol. Now very crucial reaction is reaction with nitrating mixture. Nitrating mixture is a mixture of concentrated nitric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid. So when glycerol, which can be given as, this is a glycerol, it is when heated with nitrating mixture, that is mixture of concentrated nitric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid, then ultimate nitration takes place at all the sites, and that lead to the formation of a product that can be given as, remember, along with water. This is called as glycerol trinitrate. This is what? Glycerol trinitrate, which is popularly known as TNG. And TNG is an explosive material, so it is used to prepare number of explosives like dynamite. Now very important reaction of glycerol which is to be discussed is oxidation reaction. So next property is oxidation reaction. Remember, oxidation reaction, product of oxidation depends upon the oxidizing agent to be used. So when glycerol, which can be given as, this is the glycerol, when this glycerol is oxidized by dilute HNO3, remember nitric acid is oxidizing acid, so it oxidizes the primary OH group in glycerol, and that in turn lead to the formation of glyceraldehyde. So this is the glyceraldehyde which happens to be first oxidative product. Now this glyceraldehyde is further oxidized by the same oxidizing agent, and that lead to the formation of an acid what we called glyceric acid. So this is called as glyceric acid, and glyceric acid which in turn get oxidized again, and here primary OH group again get oxidized, and that lead to the formation of an ultimate product as tartonic acid. Remember, tartonic acid is a dicarboxylic acid. But this was the oxidation by using dilute nitric acid. But instead of using dilute nitric acid, if Fenton's reagent is used for oxidation purpose, remember Fenton's reagent is the mixture of FeSO4 and hydrogen peroxide, ferrous sulfate and H2O2 is nothing but the Fenton's reagent. So when glycerol, which can be given as, this is the glycerol, when it is oxidized by Fenton's reagent, that is FeSO4 and H2O2, then we get the mixture of two different products. So one of which is the glyceraldehyde, that can be given as, and other product is dihydroxy acetone. Remember, this is glyceraldehyde and this is dihydroxyacetone. And this entire mixture, I mean mixture of glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone is popularly known as glycerol. So in single word one can say that glycerol is the product of oxidation reaction of glycerol by using Fenton's reagent. So these are some of the chemical properties of glycerol. Now let's take a look at the applications or uses of glycerol. Remember, glycerol is very important ingredient. So let's see some of the uses of it. So very first thing to be noted, as it is used as antifreeze. It is used as antifreeze in automobile radiators. Again, it is used as a lubricant in watches. So as a lubricant one can use glycerol, especially in watches. Then again it is used as a sweetener. It is used as a sweetener in medicines and beverages. Then it is used as a preservative. This is very important thing. And it is used to prepare TNG, which happens to be explosive material. And in cosmetic products glycerol is largely used. And again remember, glycerol is added to the toothpastes also. So these are some of the uses of glycerol. Thank you very much.